Despite the sweat dripping down their foreheads and backs, women in a small room in Laos complete pattern after pattern on their textile looms. For Sakai Patolith, this work is especially important because it makes her $350 a month. The women in her family have been making textiles for years, but Sakai is the first to sell her designs in boutiques for money. But she didn't accomplish this all on her own. She was taught to market her profits by the entrepreneurial organizations, the Traditional Arts and Anthology Center, and Ak Pop Tak. Sakai was able to turn her culture into a marketing job that allowed her to give her family health and safety benefits as well as buy them a house. But most of all, it allowed her the opportunity for her daughter to be the first woman in her family to go to college. Poverty is the biggest obstacle to girls receiving an education. Many times, families cannot afford the costs of books, uniforms, transportation, and supplies for their daughters. Other families just cannot afford to lose the work that a daughter provides. And even families that can afford to offset these costs often find their children at schools that lack the resources to provide them with an adequate education. Women make up almost half of the world's population, but 62 million of them still don't have access to education. The way to change this is not just to give families money or give schools more money. It is to do what schools were designed to do, to teach, but teach the mothers instead of the daughters. Around the world, women constantly make less than men. They are forced into low paying, dangerous jobs in an attempt to provide for their families. But what if they didn't have to? What if women were taught how to be economically independent? They would be able to pay for the costs of their daughter's education while also improving their family's life by working a job that is safe and pays well. And they would also be shrinking the gender gap. This cannot be done just through money. It needs to be accomplished by job training. Women need help to get started. They are not endowed with special abilities to know how to turn their culture into economic independence. But they can be taught. And they need to be taught. For the sake of the 62 million girls out there with no access to education. Studies have linked increased economic opportunities to better education. The less a family has to budget and depend on their daughters for labor, the more likely they are to send them to school. Girls are just as smart as boys. They are just as talented as boys. All they need is the chance to prove this, a chance that is provided by the economic security their mothers can achieve. Sakai Patolith never got the opportunity to graduate from high school or go to college. But now her daughter will. She will never be forced to choose between supporting her family or going to school like her mother was. Instead, she will have countless opportunities provided for her by the economic independence her mother gained.